Yeah, these are two guys who I like a lot. I'm going to go with Jared Goff only because I think right now that this offense really understands how they want to play the game, which is through the running game and then to Jared Goff off of the running game with play action pass, which you've seen here over and over and over again. I think Jared is much more comfortable right now. I think he understands exactly what Sean McVay expects of him right now. That doesn't mean that Carson won't rebound, but I think I would give the nod to Jared Goff right now.
Dominique, Ravens and Texans, Lamar versus Deshaun.
I don't even need you to ask the question. It's easy. I go Lamar Jackson. And part of it is because I think Lamar is actually a better quarterback than Watson. But also, Lamar is going up against that Texans defense, and Watson is going to have to go against that Ravens defense. So I think Lamar prevails.
Lewis, Patriots, Seahawks, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson. Who you got?
Yeah, this one's easy. Look, Russ is on a mission right now. Look, Cam's own coach, Bill Belichick, said that he believes in many respects that the league and that we in the media are underrating Russell Wilson because you tell me what the flaw is in his game. He can do it all. He can absolutely do it all from the pocket, on the perimeter, total command of the offense, total command of the football team overall. He, without a doubt, is a front runner for the MVP this year.
Totally agree. And then finally tonight, Neek, who you got, Burrow or Baker?
Yeah, I'm going with Burrow. I think that Burrow has more potential to do well in this situation. I know that this team is not protecting him that well. They don't have the offensive line, but they do have quite a few playmakers. And I've seen several weeks going back to last season where I didn't think Baker was playing all that well. And I think that Stefanski probably isn't doing all he can to help Baker in these situations.
Boy, they lose an in-state rivalry game, and the reaction should be fascinating. We should point out that the backup there is Case Keenum, who worked under Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota and had a career year there across the board. His numbers were well above what they had been and have been since, most notably, too. That was Keenum's lone appearance in the playoffs. That was the year of the Minneapolis Miracle and all that kind of stuff. So, Lou, as we look at this, again, I get that it's week 2. But what do you think is at stake for Baker Mayfield, Louis Riddick, and the Browns as they open again, or as they play the Bengals tonight?
Well, obviously, what you have is you have two #1 overall draft picks going up against one another. One guy trying to establish himself in an organization like Cincinnati, and where they're going to give him a lot more freedom, a lot more leeway to kind of like grow into the role. But he has already shown that he has uncanny and uncommon maturity. For a guy so young, for a guy who has such limited starting experience even in college, but it's someone who they have put the entire weight of the organization on him, and he's saying, hey, bring it on. I can handle it. I have the shoulders to handle it. And it kind of is reflected in his performance, although it's just one game. With Baker, you have someone who people are all over the map with only because I think he sometimes comes off as being all over the map as far as changing what he wants his approach to be, how he wants people to look at him, and then ultimately what his performance looks like. Now, I know he has been subject to a lot of dysfunction as far as, you know, coaching staffs and the subsequent effect that has on his development. And those are things people need to keep in mind. But for him to lose this game to an in-state rival with a guy who's just making his second career start, you know, for a franchise that has been synonymous with underachieving, I think that would be not good in Cleveland, because I know the fans up there this year have been told this is going to be a year that we're going to turn this around. Kevin Stefanski is the guy, and if Baker doesn't start playing well and they don't start winning games, it's just going to get ugly once again in Cleveland, and that's become all too common up there.
Yeah, I had Jake Trotter, who covers them, on my radio show the other day. He said exactly that. He will lose the fans if they lose this game tonight. Shefty, I'll come to you in a second, but first, Neek, you put together some tape on what the coach should have done to help Baker last week. I know you're going to defend Baker with some tape here. What have you got?
Yeah, I think Baker was not getting set up well for by Stefanski, and I think because Kitchens is gone, we assume that Stefanski would do better. But I think what Stefanski needs to remember is if you are going to set the table, go ahead and let Baker eat. So this is the first play of the game. They're running the ball quite well. They're doing that zone. It sets you up. You have set the table, so now eat. What you should do is a bootleg out of that. Play action bootleg. This goes back to last year when Stefanski was with Minnesota. Play action bootleg. Look at that vision. He's out of the pocket. He can see everything. You got your speedy receivers getting over. This is what they actually did on most of their first downs where they threw the ball. They kept Baker, who's 6 foot, in the pocket. They had these receivers running 3-step drops, and Baker's looking for an open receiver over this big offensive line, and they've already set it up. The play action is there. Why not go to the play action? why set the table if you're not going to let Baker eat? So I think Stefanski failed Baker in that moment. He failed him in some of the third down play designs also. But on first down specifically, you got to go ahead and make those easy plays. Get your short and athletic quarterback out of the pocket, especially if you're running the ball well. So I think that Stefanski is not Kitchens, so he's an upgrade. But saying that you're an upgrade over Kitchens, I don't think it's saying very much. People should expect more from Stefanski to set Baker up to do the things that Baker does well.
We'll see. And again, Shefty, I get that we're being a little bit of professional overreactors today, but I think it is reasonable to say if they lose tonight, the fans are going to lose their minds in Cleveland, understandably so. So what is your sense of the mood and the mentality in Cleveland 1 week into the season?
I'm going to go along with the hysteria on this one because somebody in Ohio is going to go to 0-2. One of these former #1 overall picks at quarterback is going to be 0-2. Now, I don't think the expectations for the Bengals are quite the same as they are for the Browns. So if the Browns go 0-2, and there already are questions about how Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. are fitting together and getting along, those questions are going to be magnified and expanded upon and scrutinized for 10 days after a loss, and it will be messy in Cleveland if the Browns lose tonight.
Oh, that's interesting. Go ahead.
That's a hysterical
Nick, go ahead.
Schefter? He said he was going to go with hysterical. That was hysterical Schefter?
I took that as a win. I think we dragged him over to our side. To be honest with you, I think we finally got him over to our side. We're professional overreactors, and we finally got Shefty to overreact. Although I'm not sure it is when it comes to the situation in Cleveland. We'll see. Meanwhile, we'll take a break. Coming up on Get Up, how was the relationship between Tampa Tom and his new coach? We'll dive in there as Bruce Arians is hearing some criticism from a totally unexpected place. And then, if Bill Belichick in week 2, D. Wood, who do you have your eye on?
Oh, the Cleveland Browns. Listen, we already talked about coming in how Baker Mayfield's been surrounded by all these weapons from Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, and the list goes on and on. If Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns fall to 0-2, especially in the division 0-2, boy, the season could be derailed before it even starts, really.
That game is tonight. Meanwhile, Dominique, who's a team you got your eye on that doesn't need to start 0-2?
Oh, yeah, I got two teams, actually. The Colts versus the Vikings. They're playing each other. They both lost in week 1. Rivers wasn't good against a team that we thought the Jaguars weren't going to win any games. Then the Vikings secondary has had a lot of turnover at corner, and Aaron Rodgers made them pay. So these two teams are going to be playing this week, and whoever loses this team is going to be in real bad shape starting out the year 0-2. And you can't lose games like that game the Colts lost to the Jaguars, because most times you're going to be outmatched. You got to win the games that you're supposed to win, because you're going to lose a lot of those tough, those close matchups going on.
And those are teams that are both thinking Super Bowl thoughts. Lewis, who do you have your eye on?
Well, Damian Woody, I have my eye on your Cowboys. Yeah, I said your Cowboys. Because I'll tell you what, this week against Atlanta, they better go ahead and put up a win, because next week they're going to Seattle. I mean, in 2 weeks they're going to Seattle then. And then things could get real dicey for this football team. I think we all know, look, Dallas is kind of in the same situation as Tampa Bay. It's about expectations. It's about what people were saying about them in the offseason. Remember, this offense is unstoppable. They have the best wide receiver core in the league. They have the best skill position set in the league. Well, we need to see this pretty quickly. We need to see this against the Atlanta Falcons this week. Because if not, I think conversation is going to get ramped up around this football team very quickly. Then you have the pending contract negotiation at the end of this year with Dak Prescott. You have the conversation right now about whether or not Mike McCarthy has actually put his stamp on this offense, or is this just Kellen Moore's offense? There's a lot going on here, too. And you want to talk about heat getting turned up on a football team if they go 0-2. This is the one. This is the team to watch.
I agree completely. And let's make sure everyone understands why he's referencing D. Wood in that circumstance. Lewis, you made a bold prediction last week that the Cowboys would miss the playoffs. and a big fella over here pretty much lost his mind. D. Wood, what do you have to say after week 1?
Well, first of all, good morning, Lewis. You're not going to listen. It's too early in the morning for you to be trying to come up at me and everything. I know you did Monday Night Football and all that, so you're feeling kind of swollen in the chest and everything. But let's calm down on the Cowboys. The Cowboys will be all right. I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl this year. I did that last year. They let me down. But to think the Cowboys not going to make the playoffs, I might need you in the studio so we can have a face-to-face conversation.
Ooh.
Hey, man. Hey.
Escalated.
See, no, wait a minute. Just a couple segments ago, you went all in on your former team, the Jets. You went all in on them. You wanted to basically just go in there and just nuke the whole play and just kind of burn it all down, start over again. And now, I just don't understand what all this defense is of the Cowboys. I mean, look, I like them. I like the Cowboys. When I was a kid, look, that was my team. Tony Dorsett, the whole thing, that was my team. But I mean, the expectations always seem to be get out of control with this football team. They just do. And there's just something about the makeup of the team that doesn't seem to consistently jive with what you see on paper. Because you're right. What you see on paper is a team that should be putting up easy. It should easily be a 4-touchdown team every week. Every week, 28 should be the minimum that this team is scoring. But then you have highlights like this, where Aaron is just like bowling pinning people and throwing them around. I mean, it's like come on now. We can't always have this same conversation every offseason about this football team, and then they come out and lay an egg like they did against the Rams. I mean, it has to get better, and they need to stop Atlanta this week. That's what they need to do. Because the next week up in Seattle,